The Great Council Chamber of the Galactic Alliance stretched across 3 kilometers of polished crystal floor. Representatives from dozens of worlds sat in floating chairs that hummed softly in the vast space. At the center of it all stood a holographic display showing a small blue planet spinning slowly in the darkness. Commander Vorthak leaned forward in his chair, his scaled green skin catching the light from the display. His yellow eyes studied the planet with disgust. "This is what they call Earth," he said, his voice carrying easily through the chamber's speakers. "A death world. Look at those storm systems, those volcanoes, that unstable weather." General Nexus clicked her mandibles together in agreement. Her insect-like form towered over most other delegates even while seated. "The radiation levels alone should have killed any life forms millions of cycles ago," she added, "yet somehow these humans survived." The holographic display zoomed in, on Earth's surface. Images flashed across the screen showing hurricanes tearing apart coastlines, earthquakes splitting the ground open, and massive predators hunting in dense jungles. Volcanic eruptions painted the sky red, while tsunamis swallowed entire land masses. "Primitive," muttered Counselor Drex, a being whose blue skin rippled like water. "They fight with metal projectiles fired from simple tubes. Their ships barely reach their own moon. How did such weak creatures survive on such a hostile world?" "Ambassador." Kelthon stood slowly from his seat. His gray skin was marked with old scars, and his forearms moved carefully as he addressed the council. "With respect, honored members, I have studied the humans more closely than most. Their survival was not luck. It was adaptation." "Commander," Vorthak's laugh echoed through the chamber. "Adaptation? Look at them, Ambassador. They have no natural armor like my people. No acid spit like the Nexus. No energy shields like the Drex. They are soft, weak mammals with thin skin and brittle bones. They bleed easily," added General Nexus. "Their lifespans are incredibly short. They require constant feeding and water. They cannot even survive in space without artificial protection." Kelthon pulled up new images on the display. These showed human cities, human technology, human art. Yet they have covered their entire planet. They have survived ice ages that would have frozen any of our worlds solid. They have endured asteroid impacts that would have cracked our moons in half. The council members looked at the images with mild interest. Human buildings seemed crude compared to their own crystal spires and floating cities. Human vehicles looked clumsy next to their sleek energy-based transport. Human weapons appeared laughably simple compared to their plasma cannons and particle beams. "They wage war constantly," Kelthon continued. "Not just against other species, but against their own kind. They have been fighting for their entire recorded history. Every generation faces conflict." "Exactly my point," said Vorthak. "They are barbaric, uncivilized. They know nothing of honor or proper military conduct." General Nexus brought up tactical data on her personal display. "Their largest military forces number in the millions, but they fight with kinetic weapons, chemical explosives, and primitive vehicles. A single battalion of our forces could defeat their entire planet." Several council members nodded in agreement. The Alliance had conquered dozens of worlds with minimal resistance. Most species surrendered once they saw the superior technology and numbers arrayed against them. Those who fought were quickly overwhelmed by weapons that could melt mountains or ships that could crack planets. "There is another matter to consider," said Counselor Thane, whose metallic skin reflected the chamber lights. "A human colony ship has entered the Zephyrian Nebula. It carries 50 civilians and only 8 military personnel." Commander Vorthak's eyes brightened with interest. "Perfect. We can use them to send a message to the rest of their species. Show them what happens when primitives enter civilized space. The ship is called the New Soul," General Nexus reported, reading from her display. "It left Earth 6 months ago, bound for an uninhabited system. They appear to be lost." Ambassador Kelthon stood again, his expression troubled. "Honored members, I urge caution. The humans may appear weak, but they possess something our studies have not fully measured." "What could they possibly possess that we should fear?" asked Vorthak with amusement. "Desperation," Kelthon replied quietly. "When their backs are against the wall, When they have nothing left to lose, humans become something else entirely. Something dangerous. The council chamber filled with laughter. The sound echoed off the crystal walls like music. 8 soldiers, chuckled General Nexus. 8 primitive soldiers with crude weapons against a full Alliance battalion. The odds are 25 to 1 in our favor. More than that, added Vorthak. Our soldiers carry plasma rifles that can melt through their strongest armor. Our ships have shields that can deflect their heaviest weapons. Our technology is thousands of years ahead of theirs. Councillor Drex rippled with what might have been humor. Perhaps we should send only half a battalion. We wouldn't want to make it too easy. More laughter filled the chamber. Even the usually serious military representatives seemed amused by the idea of humans offering any real resistance. General Nexus called up deployment schedules on the main display. I can have Battalion 77 ready to move within 2 cycles. They are our newest graduates from the Advanced Combat Academy. This will be excellent training for them. Perfect, agreed Vorthak. Let them cut their teeth on these humans. It will be good practice before they face real enemies. Ambassador Kelthon made one last attempt. The humans have a saying, never corner a wild animal. Perhaps we should consider offering them terms for surrender instead of immediate attack. Terms? Vorthak's voice carried surprise and disgust. They are primitives who have wandered into our territory. They will learn to respect their betters, or they will serve as an example to others. The vote was called quickly. 200 voices voted to authorize military action against the human colony ship. Only one voice, that of Ambassador Kelthon, voted against. As the council session ended and representatives began filing out of the chamber, General Nexus approached Commander Vorthak. Should we inform the humans that we are coming? Give them a chance to prepare their defenses? Vorthak's laugh was cold and sharp. Let it be a surprise. When word reaches Earth that their colonists were defeated in minutes by our superior forces, they will understand their place in the galaxy. Neither of them noticed Ambassador Kelthon standing nearby, his forearms crossed and his expression grim. He had read the human histories more carefully than anyone else in the Alliance. He knew about their wars, their survival, their refusal to surrender even when facing impossible odds. But his warnings had fallen on deaf ears. The Alliance was about to learn something that no amount of technology or superior numbers could prepare them for. They were about to discover what happened when you cornered the children of a Deathworld. The new soul drifted through space, its crew unaware that 200 of the galaxy's most elite soldiers were already moving to intercept them. In the Yao ship's small command center, Squad leader Kang Minho was reviewing patrol schedules while his team prepared for another routine day of protecting the sleeping colonists in the cargo holds below. None of them knew that in less than 48 hours, they would be fighting for their lives against impossible odds. None of them knew that their actions would change how the entire galaxy viewed the human race. The trap was set. The hunters were moving. And somewhere in the darkness between stars, 8 humans were about to show the universe what it meant to be born on a world that never stopped trying to kill you. The alarm in the New Soul's command center screamed like a dying animal. Red lights flashed across every surface as squad leader Kang Minho rushed to the main console. His boots pounded against the metal floor as he reached for the communications. Panel, report. He called out to his team scattered throughout the ship. 15 alien vessels dropping out of hyperspace. Park Jiwon's voice crackled through the speakers from the communications bay. They're surrounding us. Big ships, Sarge. Really big. Minho felt his stomach drop. He had hoped their small colony ship would go unnoticed in this empty part of space. 50 sleeping colonists in the cargo holds depended on him and his 7-person team to keep them safe. Lee Do-yeon, wake up the civilians carefully, Minho ordered into his headset. Don't cause panic, but get them to the emergency stations. Kim So-min, I need you to check our weapon systems. What weapon systems? Came So-min's bitter laugh from the armory. We've got 6 plasma rifles, some mining explosives, and a whole lot of hope. The ship shuddered as something large attached to their hull. Then another impact. Then a third. Through the viewport, Minho could see sleek alien ships moving around them like sharks circling wounded prey. "Incoming transmission," reported Jiwan. "It's in our language somehow. Put it through." A cold voice filled the command center. "Primitive humans of the vessel New Soul, you have entered Alliance space without permission. Prepare to be boarded. Any resistance will result in immediate destruction." Minho grabbed the communication device. "This is Squad Leader Kang Minho, of the Earth colony ship New Soul. We are peaceful civilians on a colonization mission. We mean no harm and request safe passage." The response came back quickly. "There will be no negotiation. Surrender your weapons and prepare to be taken into custody. You have 5 minutes to comply." Minho cut the connection and opened his team channel. "Listen up, everyone. We've got about 200 alien soldiers about to board our ship. They want to take our people prisoner." Choi Hyunwoo's quiet voice came from the observation deck. "I can see them through the scopes. They're wearing full battle armor and carrying energy weapons. This isn't a friendly visit." "What are your orders, Sarge?" asked Han Jae-min from the engineering section. Minho closed his eyes for a moment. 8 soldiers against 200. No real weapons, no backup, no chance of winning a straight fight. But 50 innocent people sleeping in the cargo holds were counting on them. "We're not surrendering our people," he said firmly. "Jiwan, I need you to rig every system you can with surprises. Soman, distribute the explosives throughout the ship. Make them pay for every corridor. Hyunwoo, find elevated positions with good sightlines. Everyone else, prepare for close combat." "Sarge," said Song Minji from the pilot's cabin, "the shuttle bay is still functional. I could try to get some of the civilians out." "Do it. Take as many as you can in the first load. The rest of us will buy you time." The ship shuddered again as cutting tools began working on the hull. Sparks showered down from the ceiling as the aliens burned through the outer armor. Kim So-min moved through the corridors like a ghost, placing small explosive charges behind wall panels and under floor grates. She connected them to motion sensors and timer devices stripped from kitchen equipment. "If they want our ship," she muttered to herself, "they can have it in pieces." Park Ji-won worked frantically at his console. He rerouted power from life support to create feedback loops in the lighting system. He programmed the artificial gravity to randomly reverse in different sections. He even rigged the water recycling system to spray boiling steam when doors opened. 30 seconds until breach, called out Lee Do-hyun as he helped confused colonists toward the shuttle bay. Many of them were still groggy from the sleep pods and couldn't understand what was happening. Han Jae-min sealed off entire sections of the ship and rerouted air circulation to create choke points. "They'll have to come through 3 narrow passages to reach the main areas," he reported. "Should slow them down a little." The first breach came at the cargo hold. Cutting torches burned through the hull in perfect circles, and armored alien soldiers poured through the openings. They moved in perfect formation, their energy weapons raised and ready. The first soldier through the breach stepped on one of Soman's pressure plates. The explosion wasn't large, but in the confined space it sent 3 aliens flying backward into their comrades. Shouts and confusion filled the corridor as more soldiers pushed forward. "Contact," reported Hyunwoo from his position above the main hallway. His modified mining rifle cracked once, twice, 3 times. Each shot found gaps in alien armor, dropping soldiers who had expected no real resistance. The aliens quickly realized this wasn't going to be the easy capture they had planned. These humans weren't cowering in fear or begging for mercy. They were fighting back with everything they had. Commander Vorthak's voice boomed through the ship's speakers. "Humans, you are only making this harder on yourselves. Surrender now, and we will show mercy." Minho's response echoed through the same speakers thanks to Ji-won's technical skills. "Come and take us." The battle turned into a nightmare for the alien forces. Every door they opened triggered traps. Every corridor they advanced down became a killing field. The humans used kitchen knives when their ammunition ran out. They threw tools and furniture when they had nothing else. Yoon Nari made her stand in the main cargo bay, protecting the remaining colonists who couldn't reach the shuttle bay. She had jury-rigged a mining laser into a weapon that could cut through alien armor like paper. For 20 minutes, she held the entire bay against wave, After wave of alien soldiers, "Nari, fall back," Minho called over the radio. "You've done enough." "Negative, Sarge," she replied, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. "These people are depending on us. I'm not leaving my post." She kept firing until her improvised weapon overheated and exploded. The blast took out a dozen more alien soldiers, but it also ended the life of one of Earth's finest. "Nari's down," Do-hyun reported grimly as he treated wounded colonists. "The cargo bay is lost." More breaches opened throughout the ship. The aliens were learning to expect traps and resistance, but they still couldn't understand how such primitive creatures were causing so much damage to their elite forces. General Nexus watched the battle reports with growing disbelief. "How many casualties?" she demanded of her tactical officer. 37 dead, 42 wounded, came the response. Against 8 humans with primitive weapons. "Impossible," Nexus hissed. "Our soldiers have the best training in the galaxy. They wear armor that can stop plasma bolts. They carry weapons that can melt steel." But the reports kept coming in. Alien soldiers trapped in collapsing corridors. Others burned by superheated steam. Some cut down by humans who appeared from impossible hiding spots and disappeared just as quickly. The final blow came when the ship's power core began to overload. Ji-won had rigged it to cascade failure, threatening to destroy the entire vessel. "All teams evacuate immediately," Commander Vorthak ordered. "Prepare the escape pods and abandon ship." As the aliens pulled back, Minho gathered his surviving team. They had lost Nari, but they had saved most of the colonists and shown the galaxy something it had never seen before. Humans didn't surrender. They didn't break. They fought until the very end. "Where to now, Sarge?" asked Somin, her face covered in soot and blood. Through the viewport, Minho could see a planet in the distance. It looked hostile and unwelcoming, covered in storms and volcanic activity, the kind of world most species would avoid. "There," he said, pointing at the planet. "We're going home." The New Soul's engines fired one last time, carrying the surviving humans toward a world that would become their greatest advantage and the aliens' worst nightmare. The New Soul screamed through the atmosphere of Kepler 442c like a falling star. Metal groaned and twisted as the damaged colony ship broke apart in the crushing winds. Emergency pods scattered across the planet's surface like seeds thrown by an angry god. Squad leader Kang Minho pulled himself from the wreckage of his pod, blood running down his face from a deep cut above his eye. Around him stretched a landscape that would have terrified most sentient beings in the galaxy. Massive storms painted the sky purple and green. Lightning struck the ground every few seconds with thunderclaps that shook the earth. The air itself seemed thick and poisonous. Minho took a deep breath and smiled. It smelled like home. "Sound off," he called into his damaged radio. "Anyone reading me?" Static filled the channel for several seconds before voices began to respond. "Ji-won here. Landed about 2 clicks south of your position. Radio's mostly working. Do-hyun checking in. I've got 12 colonists with me, all alive but some injured. Somin present. Lost most of my equipment, but I'm mobile. Hyunwoo reporting. I can see alien ships landing on the northern plateau. Jaemin here. My pod landed near some kind of forest. The trees are moving on their own." One voice was missing. "Song Minji, report," Minho called. Only silence answered him. Through the howling wind came the sound of alien aircraft. Their sleek ships moved awkwardly in the violent atmosphere, fighting against air currents that would have been impossible on their carefully controlled homeworlds. Commander Vorthak stood in the command center of his flagship, watching the tactical display with growing anger. The planet below was registering as barely habitable. Toxic gases filled the atmosphere. The weather patterns were chaos. Seismic activity threatened to tear the ground apart at any moment. How did they choose to crash on such a horrible world? He demanded of his tactical officer. "Sir, scans show this planet has been classified as uninhabitable by 17 different species. The atmospheric pressure alone should crush most life forms. Yet the humans are moving around down there like it's a pleasure world," Vorthak growled. "Deploy all ground forces. I want those primitives captured within 6 hours." The first alien, soldiers to reach the surface, immediately understood why so many species had abandoned this world. Their environmental suits struggled against atmospheric pressure 3 times greater than their homeworlds. The air was so thick with strange chemicals that their filters began failing within minutes. Private Kex of the Draconian Elite Guard stumbled through what humans might have called a swamp. His heavy armor, designed for the low gravity of his homeworld, made each step a struggle in the crushing gravity of Kepler 442c. His breathing apparatus wheezed as it tried to process the alien atmosphere. Behind him, his squad moved in single file, their usual formation tactics useless in the dense undergrowth. Plants with razor-sharp leaves cut through their armor like paper. Something that looked like a flower sprayed acid that ate through their face masks. "Contact front," called Sergeant Vex over the radio. "I see one of the humans." Through the twisted trees, they could see Han Jamin moving between the massive trunks. But something was wrong. The human wasn't wearing any environmental protection. He breathed the poisonous air directly into his lungs. He moved through the crushing gravity like it was nothing. "Target the human," ordered Kex, raising his plasma rifle. The weapon fired, sending a bolt of superheated energy toward Yaman. But the dense atmosphere scattered the beam, reducing its power to almost nothing. The shot that should have vaporized the human barely singed his shirt. Jamin turned toward the aliens with a grin that would have looked at home on any predator from Earth. In his hands, he carried what looked like a simple wooden spear carved from one of the local trees. "You boys look a little uncomfortable," he called out in perfect galactic standard. "First time on a real planet?" He threw the spear with casual ease. The weapon, carved from wood that had evolved to survive in crushing gravity and toxic air, flew through the atmosphere like a missile. It punched through Kex's armor and sent him flying backward into his squad. The other aliens opened fire, their energy weapons crackling through the thick air. But Jamin was already gone, vanishing into the undergrowth, like he had been born there. On the northern plateau, Choi Hyunwoo had found his element. The rocky outcroppings provided perfect cover for a sniper, and the constant lightning gave him all the illumination he needed. His modified mining rifle, designed to work in asteroid belts and deep space, functioned perfectly in the planet's hostile environment. Through his scope, he watched alien soldiers struggling to climb the steep rocks. Their heavy armor made every movement difficult. Their breathing apparatus created clouds of vapor that gave away their positions. They moved like they were underwater. Hyunwoo squeezed the trigger. The projectile, a simple metal slug, flew true through the dense air. It struck an alien squad leader in the gap between his helmet and chest armor. The alien dropped without a sound. The rest of the squad took cover behind rocks, but they made a fatal mistake. Their electronic equipment, designed for the clean environments of advanced worlds, attracted every predator on the plateau. Things that looked like crosses between eagles and dragons dove from the storm clouds above. They ignored Hyunwoo completely, drawn instead to the electromagnetic signatures of alien technology. Screams filled the radio channels as creatures that had never seen aliens before decided they made interesting prey. In the southern valleys, Park Jiwon had discovered something wonderful. The planet's magnetic field, chaotic and powerful, scrambled alien communications while leaving his simple radio equipment mostly functional. He could hear every alien transmission, but they were operating almost blind. "Alpha Squad, report your position," came Commander Vorthak's voice over the alien channels. "Sir, we're lost," came the panicked reply. "Our navigation systems failed 2 hours ago. The storms are interfering with our sensors." "Beta Squad, move to support Alpha." "Beta Squad is gone, sir. Something in the caves took them. We found pieces of their armor, but no bodies." Jiwon grinned as he listened to the growing panic in alien communications. He began transmitting false coordinates, sending alien squads into the most dangerous parts of the planet. Storm-racked canyons where lightning struck every few seconds. Volcanic fields where the ground could collapse without warning. Swamps filled with creatures that had never learned to fear anything. Lee Do-hyun had established a medical station in a natural cave system. Around him lay both human and alien wounded. The alien stared at him in confusion as he treated their injuries with the same care he showed to his own people. "Why do you help us?" asked a wounded alien soldier whose breathing apparatus had failed. in the toxic air. "We came to capture your people." Do-yoon looked up from the bandage he was wrapping around the alien's arm. "Because you're hurt," he said simply. "On my world, we have a saying. A wounded enemy is just a person who needs help." The alien soldier's translator struggled with the concept. In their culture, enemies were destroyed, not healed. This human's mercy was more alien to them than the hostile planet they found themselves on, but word of the human medic spread through alien communications. Wounded soldiers began to surrender rather than die in the wilderness, knowing that the soft-skinned human would treat their injuries while their own commanders left them to die on this hellish world. Kim So-man had gone deeper than anyone else, following underground rivers into the planet's core regions. Here, the geological instability that made the world so dangerous became her greatest weapon. She understood pressure and explosives better than anyone, and this planet was one giant bomb waiting for the right trigger. She placed her few remaining charges at carefully selected points in the underground cave systems, not to cause immediate explosions but to create chain reactions. When alien forces moved through the tunnels, following what looked like safe passages, the ground would simply open up and swallow them whole. Above ground, alien aircraft struggled against winds that changed direction every few minutes. Storm systems that should have been predictable according to their computers instead moved like living things, trapping flyers in downdrafts that smashed them against the rocky ground. And, through it all, one human moved like a ghost through the storms. Song Minji had survived the crash of her escape pod and found something wonderful among the wreckage. Parts and pieces that, in the hands of someone who understood both human engineering and alien technology, could be turned into something new. Her jury-rigged aircraft looked like nothing any engineer had ever designed. Wings made from salvaged hull plating, engines that burned the planet's own atmospheric gases, control systems that used alien computers connected to human instincts. She flew through storms that would have destroyed any normal aircraft, striking alien positions and vanishing back into the chaos of the planet's weather systems. To the aliens, below, she was like a demon that appeared from nowhere and disappeared just as quickly. Commander Vorthak watched his tactical display with growing horror. In just 2 days, his force of 200 elite soldiers had been reduced to fewer than 120. Not by superior firepower or advanced technology, but by a planet that seemed to actively hate anyone who hadn't been born there. "Sir," his communication. 3 weeks had passed since the aliens first set foot on Kepler 442c. What began as a simple capture mission had turned into a nightmare that haunted every survivor. The proud battalion of 200 elite soldiers had been reduced to 43, desperate beings hiding in makeshift shelters, jumping at every sound the hostile planet made. Commander Vorthak stood in what remained of his command post, a hastily built structure that shook with every gust of wind. His scaled skin had lost its healthy green color, turning pale from the stress and poor air filtration. Around him, his remaining officers looked like broken shadows of their former selves. "Status report," he demanded, though he dreaded the answer. "Squad 7 through 12 went silent yesterday," reported his tactical officer. "Squad 15 found pieces of their equipment scattered across a 3-kilometer area, no bodies. Squad 2 reported contact with the flying human 6 hours ago," added the communications officer. "We lost contact during the engagement. Search teams found their aircraft crashed in a ravine." Vorthak's claws scraped against the metal table. In 3 weeks, the humans had systematically hunted down his forces like animals. Worse, they seemed to know exactly where every alien squad would be before the aliens knew it themselves. "How?" he growled. "How are 8 primitives defeating the finest soldiers in the galaxy?" His question was answered by a voice that came from their own communication system. Park Ji-won's calm words filled the command post, speaking in perfect galactic standard. "Because you're not in the galaxy anymore, Commander. You're on our world now." Every alien in the command post reached for their weapons, but there was no target to shoot. Ji-won's voice came from their own speakers, carried by their own equipment. "For 3 weeks I've been listening to every word you say," Ji-won continued. "I know where you're sending your patrols before you send them. I know which squads are running low on supplies. I know how many of you are left." The communications officer frantically tried to cut the transmission, but every switch he flipped only made Jiwan's voice louder. You want to know how we're doing this? We're not using advanced technology or secret weapons. We're just doing what humans have always done. We're surviving. The transmission cut to recordings of alien soldiers, their voices filled with panic and despair. Help us, base camp. The storms came out of nowhere. Our navigation is completely dead. Something's hunting us. It knows our patrol routes. It's always one step ahead. The human medic offered to treat our wounded. Should we accept? Base camp, this is emergency signal 7. The planet is trying to kill us. Everything here wants us dead. Jiwan's voice returned. 43 left, Commander, out of 200. Do you want to make it an even 40? The transmission ended, leaving the command post in terrible silence. Outside, the planet's winds howled like the voices of the dead. On the eastern cliffs, Han Jamin put the finishing touches on his latest creation. 3 weeks of studying the planet's ecosystem had taught him things about survival that most species never learned. The local plants weren't just adapted to the hostile environment, they were part of it. His improvised laboratory looked like something from a mad scientist's nightmare. Tubes made from hollow plant stems connected containers carved from local stones. Chemical reactions bubbled and steamed in the toxic air, but every piece of equipment worked perfectly in the planet's crushing atmosphere. Jimin to all teams, he called over his radio. Package delivery ready for the Northern Valley. He looked down at his creation with satisfaction. The alien patrol approaching the valley had no idea what waited for them. The device he had built used the planet's own volcanic gases, compressed and concentrated until they became something that could eat through alien armor in seconds. Remember, everyone, came Minho's voice over the radio. We're not just fighting for ourselves anymore. Every alien we stop here is one that won't reach Earth. 20 kilometers away, Choi Hyunwoo watched the alien patrol through his scope. They moved carefully now, having learned that the planet punished careless movement with death. But they still made the same fundamental mistake. They thought like off-worlders instead of thinking like predators. He had spent 3 weeks studying their patterns, learning how they thought, understanding their fears. Now he knew them better than they knew themselves. He could predict where they would take cover, which paths they would choose, how they would react to threats. The patrol entered the valley just as Jamin's device activated. Gas that looked like ordinary volcanic steam filled the air, but this gas had been changed, made hungry for the metals in alien armor. The patrol's equipment began to dissolve as they watched in horror. Hyunwoo didn't shoot. He didn't need to. The aliens panicked, running in exactly the direction he knew they would. Run. Straight into the nest of the creatures he had been feeding for 3 weeks. The planet's predators had learned that alien technology meant easy meals. They waited now in the shadows, patient as death itself. In the southern swamps, Kim So-min crouched, in mud that would have poisoned most life forms in the galaxy. To her, it was just another Tuesday. She had been tracking this alien squad for 2 days, letting them think they were hunting her while she prepared their doom. The aliens moved through, the swamp in perfect formation, their sensors sweeping for any sign of human activity. They never looked down at the water itself, never noticed the carefully placed charges hidden beneath the surface. So-min waited until they reached the exact center of the killing zone she had prepared. Then she pressed a single button on her improvised detonator. The swamp erupted, not with fire or explosion, but with something worse. The charges she had planted didn't destroy. They opened. Ancient gas pockets that had been sealed beneath the swamp for millions of years suddenly vented into the atmosphere. The aliens found themselves breathing air that had been poisonous since before their species had evolved. Their environmental suits, already strained by 3 weeks on the hostile planet, finally failed completely. Song Minji watched from above as the aliens stumbled through the gas clouds, their equipment failing, their formation breaking apart. Her aircraft had become something beautiful and terrible, a creation that belonged to this world in ways no off-world technology ever could. She dove through the toxic clouds, her improvised engines drinking the planet's poisonous atmosphere and turning it into power. Below her, Alien survivors fired their energy weapons uselessly into the air. Their shots scattered and dissolved in the thick atmosphere as harmless as lightning bugs. But Minji's weapons worked perfectly. Simple kinetic projectiles that used gravity and momentum instead of complex energy systems. Each shot found its target with mechanical precision. Lee Do-hyun continued his work in the cave system, treating wounded aliens with the same care he showed to injured humans. But now something had changed. The aliens no longer saw him as an enemy. They saw him as the only chance of surviving this nightmare world. "Doctor," called an alien soldier, whose squad had been destroyed by the planet's predators. "3 more of my people are dying. The toxic gas has eaten through their breathing apparatus." Do-hyun looked up from the human colonist he was treating. Around him, alien and human wounded lay side by side, united by their shared suffering on this hostile world. "Bring them in," he said quietly. "I'll do what I can." But his mercy came with a price. Every alien he saved was one that could carry word back to the galaxy about what had happened here. About what humans could do when their backs were against the wall. Commander Vorthak received the reports with growing despair. Another squad gone, another patrol disappeared, another group of his soldiers begging to surrender to the human medic. "Sir," his communications officer said, "we're receiving a transmission from the fleet." "Put it through." General Nexus appeared on the holographic display, her insect features sharp with anger. "Commander, explain why your mission is taking so long. You were supposed to capture 8 humans, not fight an extended campaign." "General, the situation is more complex than anticipated. The humans have proven to be more resourceful than our intelligence suggested." 8 soldiers, Commander. 8 primitive soldiers with crude weapons. How difficult can this be?" Vorthak looked around at his remaining officers, seeing his own desperation reflected in their faces. "General, I request immediate evacuation for my remaining forces. This planet is too hostile for extended operations." "Denied. You will complete your mission. The Alliance does not retreat from primitives." The transmission ended, leaving Vorthak alone with the terrible knowledge that his superiors still didn't understand what they were facing. They still thought this was about technology and superior numbers. They didn't understand that 43 aliens were now trapped on a world with creatures who had been shaped by millions of years of surviving in hell. They didn't understand that every day they stayed made the humans stronger and the aliens weaker. As night fell over Kepler 442c, the remaining aliens huddled in their shelters while lightning split the sky and predators called to each other through the toxic air. Somewhere in the darkness, 8 humans moved like ghosts through a world that welcomed them home. The hunters had become the hunted. The superior force had become the desperate survivors. And in the shadows between the lightning strikes, death. The final storm came at dawn on the 30th day. Lightning turned the sky white while thunder shook the ground like the footsteps of angry gods. In the ruins of what had once been the alien command post, Commander Vorthak stood with the last 12 soldiers of his once proud battalion. 30 days ago, 200 elite warriors had descended upon this world to capture 8 primitive humans. Now those same humans had become legends whispered in the dark corners of alien camps across the galaxy. "Sir," reported his communications officer, her voice barely steady. Long-range scanners showed 2 humans approaching from the east, the one, called Minho, and the communications specialist Ji-won. Vorthak nodded grimly. Over the past week, the other humans had fallen one by one, but not before taking dozens more aliens with them. Han Jaemin had died bringing down an entire alien dropship, with a device that turned their own fuel into a weapon. Song Minji had crashed her impossible aircraft into the aliens' main weapons depot, destroying enough firepower to level a city. Kim Selman had made her final stand in the underground caves, detonating herself along with the aliens' emergency supplies, rather than let them escape the planet. Choi Hyunwoo had been overwhelmed while defending a group of alien prisoners he refused to abandon, dying with enemy and friend alike under his protection. Lee Do-hyun had fallen just yesterday, shot down, while trying to negotiate a ceasefire. Even in death, his mercy had shaken the aliens who killed him. How could such creatures exist, they wondered. Beings who would heal their enemies even while those enemies tried to destroy them. Now only 2 humans remained, and they were coming to finish what had started as the aliens' easy victory. Park Ji-won moved through the storm like he had been born in it. Rain that could strip paint from metal ran off his skin harmlessly. Lightning that could kill most life. Forms seemed to bend around him. In his hands he carried a device cobbled together from alien technology and human ingenuity. "Minho," he called over the howling wind. "I can boost our transmission enough to reach Alliance space, but I'll have to overload every power cell we captured. It won't be pretty." Squad leader Kang Minho checked his weapon one final time. It was barely recognizable as the mining rifle he had started with 30 days ago. Modified with alien components, powered by the planet's own electromagnetic field, it had become something that no engineer in the galaxy could have imagined. "Do it," he said simply. "The galaxy needs to know what happened here." Ji-won began connecting cables to the alien communication array they had captured 3 days earlier. Sparks flew as incompatible technologies merged through pure human stubbornness. Warning lights flashed as power levels climbed far beyond safe limits. "Signals building," he reported. "I can reach the Alliance fleet, maybe even their homeworlds. Whatever you want to say, Sarge, say it fast. This thing's going to explode. In about 10 minutes. Minho activated the transmitter and spoke into the storm. His words carried across space, reaching alien ears that had never heard a human voice before. "This is Squad Leader Kang Minho of the Earth Defense Force. 30 days ago, you sent 200 soldiers to capture 50 human civilians and 8 defenders. You called us primitive. You called us weak. You thought we would be easy prey." Lightning crashed around the transmission array as power levels spiked beyond any safe measure. "You were wrong." Throughout Alliance space, communication officers scrambled to trace the signal. On a dozen worlds, military commanders stopped their work to listen. In the great council chambers where this had all begun, Ambassador Kelthon heard the words he had dreaded and expected. "Your soldiers came to our world thinking they were hunters. They learned what every predator eventually learns. There's always something higher up the food chain." The power cells began to smoke and spark. Ji-won worked frantically to keep the signal stable as electricity arced between his fingers. "We are the children of a Deathworld. We are the species that survived when our planet tried to kill us every single day for millions of years. We are what you get when evolution decides that only the strongest, smartest, and most stubborn creatures deserve to live." Vorthak heard every word through his damaged communication equipment. Around him, his remaining soldiers listened with the hollow eyes of beings who had seen their entire worldview destroyed. "Your alliance calls itself civilized. You think war is about honor and proper conduct. You fight by rules that make sense on safe worlds under controlled conditions. But we learned to fight on a world that had no rules except survival." The transmission array caught fire, but Ji-won kept it running through sheer determination. His hands were burned black, but he held the connection steady. "You want to know how 8 humans defeated 200 of your best soldiers? It's simple. You trained for war. We were born for it." Minho looked at his friend, seeing the sacrifice Ji-won was making to carry these words across the galaxy. The communication device was killing him slowly, but he refused to let go. "To the Alliance fleet listening to this transmission, your ground forces are gone. Your mission has failed, but I'm sending you something more valuable than victory. I'm sending you wisdom." The alien survivors in the command post checked their weapons one final time. They could see Minho approaching through the storm, walking toward them like death itself. "Never underestimate a cornered human. Never assume we'll follow your rules. Never forget that we come from a world that spent millions of years trying to teach us that there are only 2 kinds of creatures, the quick and the dead." Ji-won collapsed as the power cells finally exploded, but the signal had reached its destination. Across Alliance space, his final technical triumph carried Minho's words to every listening ear. Minho reached the ruined command post as the last echoes of thunder faded away. Commander Vorthak stepped out to meet him, his energy weapon raised, but his hands shaking. "Primitive human," Vorthak said, his voice cracking with exhaustion and fear. "You have cost me everything. My soldiers, my honor, my career." Minho looked at the alien commander with eyes that had seen too much death and too much loss. You cost yourself everything the moment you decided to threaten innocent people. The final battle was brutal and personal. Vorthak had size, strength, and technology on his side. His armor could deflect most weapons. His enhanced reflexes were faster than any natural creature should be. But Minho fought with 30 days of accumulated rage and loss. He fought with the memory of every fallen friend, every dead colonist, every moment of desperation they had endured. He fought with the knowledge that Earth was out there somewhere, unaware that its children had just changed the course of galactic history. When the fighting ended, both warriors lay dying in the ruins of the command post. Vorthak's superior technology had not been enough to save him from a human who had nothing left to lose. Minho activated his personal communicator one final time. His voice was weak, but his words carried clearly across the planet's electromagnetic storms. Mission accomplished. The colonists are safe. The threat has been eliminated. He paused, coughing blood onto the alien metal beneath him. Tell Earth that we did our duty. Tell them that when humanity was tested, we didn't break. His final transmission reached the few surviving alien soldiers hiding in caves across the planet. But more importantly, it reached the Alliance fleet waiting in orbit. Admiral Kess, who had come to oversee the capture of primitive humans, now faced a terrible choice. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "all ground forces are confirmed dead or missing. The humans have eliminated our entire battalion." "Admiral," Kess stared at the planet below. This world that had swallowed 200 of the Alliance's finest soldiers. "Signal the fleet. We're leaving." "Sir, what about the survivors?" "What survivors?" Kess asked grimly. "According to our official report, we found no signs of human activity in this system. The Alliance fleet departed without another word, leaving behind only the truth that 8 humans had accomplished the impossible. They had faced overwhelming odds and emerged victorious through nothing but human determination and the deadly education of their homeworld. Word of the last stand at Kepler 442c spread through Alliance space like wildfire. The story changed with each telling, but the core truth remained the same. Humanity was not a species to be conquered or controlled. They were apex predators who had been forged in the fires of the most dangerous world in the galaxy. When the first official diplomatic contact came to Earth 6 months later, it came not with threats or demands, but with a simple message of respect between equals. The galaxy had learned what Ambassador Kelthan had tried to warn them about from the beginning. Humans were not primitives who had survived through luck. They were the children of a death world, and they had finally come home to the stars. In the great council chambers of the Alliance, a new saying was carved into the walls in a dozen languages. 8 words that would remind future generations of the price of underestimating the seemingly weak. Never corner a human. Never threaten their young. The legend of Kepler 442c became required study at every military academy in Alliance space, not as a tale of glorious victory, but as a warning about the most dangerous species the galaxy had ever encountered. Humanity had announced their arrival among the stars, not with advanced technology or overwhelming numbers, but we,